Well, it's not too often that I get to sit here and chat with a living legend, but that is the case today. Dan Ramberg is my guest. Dan, welcome to the Horse Show.
Well, it's nice being here. Thanks for having me.
I bet people have called you a living legend before.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Heavy burden to have to carry around, but there's a reason for that. Dan, tell me a little bit. We'll just kind of start at the beginning, where you were born and raised and how you first got into horses.
Northeast Minneapolis, or just out the outskirts of Northeast Minneapolis. And my dad bought me a pony when I was 10 years old, who bucked me off every day for the first summer. And then just one thing led to another until I ended up with the horses that I ended up standing up on.
How did that first come about, the very first time you stood up, and why?
As boys would have it, we would fight horseback, and the younger ones would go home crying, and so somebody, and I don't even remember who, said, let's stand up and fight. Well, I just stood up more. I had a good horse, but I trained my horse.
Now, was that with the horse standing still, or was that the horse moving?
Moving. We were moving. And then one day I was presented with a challenge, riding 7.5 miles on one horse standing up.
And did you do it?
I did. And the people that were riding with me, that was one of the rules. I had to keep up. When they loped, I had to lope. And
wait a second. Are you saying you're loping, standing on the back of the horse?
One horse, yes.
How can you do that without losing your balance and falling off?
Oh, it takes practice. There's not too many people that do that.
How old were you when you did that?
Probably 16 or 17.
Okay, so obviously you mastered that and you're looking for a new challenge, and you start adding multiple horses.
What happened is that a rodeo producer, heard that I'd done that and showed up in the yard and said, well, can you ride 2 horses? Well, yeah, I can ride 2 horses.
Had you ever done it when you said that?
Yeah, I'd taken my brother's horse and we'd dinged around, you know. I really didn't have an act, and I never even thought of having an act. And then a big poster came out. Jimmy Murphy is his name. He was going to have his Roman act at a big rodeo in South Dakota. And I talked my dad into going out and watching. And my dad says, well, what'd you think of Jimmy Murphy, Dad? And I said, Dad, I can do what he does. I can do it better right now.
Now, how did you make that transition from 1 horse to 2 horses? It would seem like it would be more than twice as difficult, because you got to control 2 different horses.
Well, that's true. But you got to remember, I broke these horses. I could actually ride those 2 horses with just 2 whips, no bridles. Now, that was I couldn't do very much, you know, slow figure eights and stuff like that. But that's how well broke I had them. And that means a lot.
Well, I know when you are making a curve with 2 or more horses, the outer horse has to go a little bit faster, and the inner one has to go slower. How do you teach them to do that?
They went almost as fast as they could go. But there was always that little tucking in with the left-hand horse. And you're right. The one has to be going faster, and that's true.
So you're kind of holding back the ones that you want to go slower.
Right.
Yeah. What is the most difficult part about Roman riding for anybody to master?
Handling the horses.
Really? It's not a balance issue so much as it is the horses, huh?
You got a base. You have a base. You know, you have your feet fairly well spread. Standing on the 2 horses, you have a platform.
Is it actually easier than 1?
Yes.
There's some remarkable film going back to, I think it's about 1954 when you were about 15, is that correct? Yep. Tell me how that film actually came about.
We had a sports writer for WCCO television, heard that I was doing this, so he filmed that. The first part of it is actually where I practiced and developed the act. It was a sand pit, and so I picked that in case I fell, which I fell enough.
Now, I heard a story that your parents didn't know this was going on.
I had my cousin get on my shoulders one day, and just to see what it would be like. And when I stood up, I had my brother lead the horses ahead. I just knew I could carry her easily. So my folks and her folks always went shopping on Saturday morning. I lost track of time, and in come the car, and oh my goodness, it was a wreck. My mom got out, she's crying, my aunt's crying. We both got sent to our rooms. First things my dad said, you realize the danger you put Karen in? I said, no, Dad. I said, there was no danger at all. I said, give me a chance to show you, which they did eventually.
Well, you are certainly known for that, but you've gone on and done other things in your life with horses. Share some of those with us in the later part of your life, your show career and so forth.
Yes, I had a real good quarter horse, barrel horse. I started to train horses, break horses. Then I bought Woodloch and found that I had to teach too. I don't think I have to tell anybody that.
I know you're not comfortable with talking about this, but you're going to have to buck up here and just tell people some of the things, some of the ways you've been recognized.
Well, the Horse Council has a Horseman of the Year award that I received in '02, and then in '04 I was put in the Quarter Horse Hall of Fame.
Well, congratulations. My guest has been, as I said, a living legend, Dan Ramberg. Dan, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
In the coming months, Rick will appear at these events, and he'd